Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Ware Selectmen meeting, December 11th, 2023. We had a non-public, was an exit interview for a previous Public Works employee, and that brings us to now, a little after 6:45. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Might have been the quietest Pledge of Allegiance I've ever heard. All righty. I guess first thing on the agenda is the Duck Pond subdivision, wetland permit.
Can I interject real quick
Sure.
on that? So I live on Duck Pond Road, own property. It's not abutting technically, but a few months ago I did reach out. I emailed Ernie Tebow. I never heard back from him, but I was asking if I could talk to him about buying some of this property. So I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion. So
Okay.
I'm going to go sit over there until this is over.
Okay.
And Ernie, if you're watching, email me back.
He's here.
I'm right here.
Where are you?
How are you? Sorry, I didn't, so if you emailed me, I didn't get it, or I didn't see it, so.
We all set?
Go ahead.
Give me my
Okay.
card.
My name is Brad Casperson. I'm a professional engineer with Meridian Land Services, and I'll be representing New Boston Aggregate Corp. This evening for the Duck Pond subdivision. Essentially what's going on here is there's a bridge that was designed as part of the original subdivision on the construction plans. The bridge system that was a part of those construction plans was not feasible to construct because the requirements for the bridge allowed for 3 feet of cover, where in this scenario it's closer to 20. I think it's 15-ish feet, so it's 5 times what's allowed for the bridge system. So that's the whole reason of why we're redesigning this crossing. You know, if this was a situation where this was done, if they designed this crossing when they were going through the planning process, then we wouldn't be in this situation. So it's kind of a situational thing where it's after the fact. But beyond that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward in terms of what we're trying to do. We went to planning board conceptually to discuss this. They had recommended that we have this reviewed by Keach Nordstrom, which we did. He followed up with a memo which fully supported what we're trying to do here. So beyond that, I don't really have much else unless the board has questions or comments.
And Keith is the town engineer?
Sorry, say that again.
Keith is the town
Oh,
engineer?
Keach Nordstrom Associates.
Do you have something in writing from him?
Yes, I do, and I submitted it to Naomi on Friday. I know it's last minute, but I have a
Is
copy
it
here
this?
as well.
Okay.
And he had submitted, or he had an email that I attached with that, and I thought it was kind of a good summary of the entirety of the memo, but in his last sentence, for reason explained in the attached memo, I strongly support this proposal. So it's pretty to the point, I guess, in terms of his review.
Yeah, I read it this morning. It seemed like it was reasonable.
Yeah, just trying to fix something that
Right.
wasn't done right.
Yep.
When you went to the planning board, it was just a conceptual review. Have you gone back?
Oh yeah, we did submit conceptually. We haven't gone back. You know, even the conceptual submission, you know, this doesn't really fall under any application. In short, we haven't gone back, but you know, we're modifying construction plans that are associated with a subdivision, so it's kind of, it doesn't really fall under any planning application. So it's more going there to make sure that everything was in line with what the board wanted, because we were unsure of how this needed to be dealt with.
And are there any zoning requirements that you need to circle back with zoning on?
Not that I'm aware of, and I would assume Keach would have brought it up in his review if that was the case.
Looked like Ernie had something to say, no?
No, he's speaking, so, no, this just goes back to way back when the subdivision was approved. And,
So everybody can hear you.
This goes way back to the subdivision was approved, and they had these massive wing walls that T.F. Moran designed, only with 3 foot of cover on it. It was extremely expensive, disturbed a ton of land, and basically it's just a smaller box culvert now that's in there with mostly fill that's on site, very simple. We had given some land to the town in an easement when all of that open space was given, so we need you to sign an easement, giving us a little piece to fill there. So it was already permitted, the whole road was approved, and the whole project was grandfathered, as you probably remember. It's one of the last subdivisions, I think, that were open space before the illustrious 5-acre zoning. So, it is what it is. We're just asking you to sign an easement and approve it, and I believe Keach and Nordstrom looked at it. And did Craig look at it too?
Yeah, we made a full presentation
To the planning board, yeah.
And then
And Craig was an engineer.
the final designs.
Yeah, so that's pretty simple, but we're anxious to get it started in the spring.
Yeah.
That's all. So we'd like to have you bless it and sign our easement.
All right.
That's about it.
Is there anybody from the planning board here?
Well, I would have thought they would have sent a memo or something. I thought we had a meeting with them.
Yeah, I did look at their April 27th meeting, and it said that it was a conceptual thing. Talked to the town engineer, which it looks like you did, and then they also talked about something about a public hearing. So I don't know what that was about or why they said that. And without minutes or somebody here, I don't know what the topic was, why they thought that it needed a public hearing.
I mean, unless they're referring to the public hearing where we were at, the planning board meeting, but I don't remember any specific direction to come back around to the planning board, more just direction to have Keach review it and make sure he was good with what we were proposing.
And then the other question you may be able to answer, I don't see anybody from DPW, but is there any concern from a maintenance standpoint?
No, I would
Between
think
the
so.
two?
No.
Okay.
And again, I just want to add, this is just a design flaw from the first time around. This was fully permitted at the DES, the easements we're giving, and we're just redesigning to something that's a lot simpler.
Yeah.
It addresses, less land being disturbed, and, it's pretty, like I said, pretty simple and straightforward. So, again, hopefully you see it that way and you sign the easement.
It does seem that way to me, but when
I
I
guess-
looked for whether or not the planning board had signed this off, I saw that they said go to the engineer and then heard about the public meeting, and it was conceptual only, so
Yeah, and again,
do we really have planning board buy-in officially?
I believe we do, and again, we submitted conceptually because it didn't fit under any application, so we kind of were just submitted conceptually because we didn't know, it's not a subdivision application because the subdivision's been executed. So that was more of the reasoning behind that, I guess. One thing that I would like to point out that I didn't discuss about this, the wetland permitting, is there's also a small culvert on the downstream side that's, hydraulically backing up this stream, and a part of what we're proposing here is to pull that out and then, make a stream that's hydrologically connected, where previously that was not the circumstance. So, in that, view, it's better for the stream rather than trying to span it, or at least that's my perspective.
I don't know. Anything to add on or no?
I didn't know you were waiting.
No, wasn't. Looks like you're busy over there, so I.
No, I was just trying to find something, but I'm not finding it. No,
I don't have any more questions. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward
Straightforward.
and reasonable, so. To me, so.
didn't find it, sorry.
So is that something they're looking to sign tonight then?
Yeah, I believe, don't we have to sign the application as the owner of the town?
Yeah, so I have the application here with me. I don't know how this is done formally, but
Someone has to make a motion for him to sign.
Oh.
Yeah.
start with that. I guess I'll leave it here.
I'll make a motion to let Vice Chair Knapp sign the agreement.
Second? Nope. No?
Did you second, Janice?
No.
Nope. Well, can't sign, we don't have enough, we only have 2 people.
So where do we go from here?
They have to sign, one is the owner and the other one is the town.
Well, if I knew the planning board was okay with this, I would have no issues.
Is there anything in the minutes from the planning board, Naomi?
Well, I feel like the minutes read that they directed us to get it reviewed by Keach Nordstrom because it's a construction engineering item, and Keach reviewed it, and that's kind of the extent of, it's pretty simple, I thought.
Naomi, you don't have access to the minutes?
Yeah, the minutes are on the website, I'm just trying to get a hold of the chair.
I looked on the website today and didn't find the minutes.
So Keach Nordstrom is hired by the town to look out for our interests.
Right?
So planning board would look to Keach to approve things anyway, they always do. They
Yep.
don't sign off on the stuff. It appears, to me, Keach didn't have an issue, but, I mean, he's out, he protects the town, and these guys paid for him to review it for us.
Yep.
Do you know why they would have said something about a public hearing?
I'm hoping he would pick up his phone. Maybe he doesn't text at night.
Well, I can't second the motion for me to sign, so. Yeah.
spring, they start that road that goes up through there, there's 32 lots there. So we'll be starting next summer. I'm not interested in some lots, but the problem is, we have builders that want them. What's your first name again? Salem. Yeah, so just give me a call myself. Vinny, whether it's somebody or something.
As it were, all that little energy, yeah, exactly.
Some of that property in the back, part of conservation, they gave to.
The two lots that come on, if you're heading out the road, the back onto Duck Pond Road. Right. It's emergency access only.
I don't know how long you want to wait.
What's that?
I don't know how long you want to wait.
Well, I mean, I don't know what we can move on. She's not even here, so.
The rest of it's gravel on the gate.
He knows the plan very well, you can talk to too. What our plans and what's going to look like and stuff. Yes. Well, no, what space is it? So it's no, I'm not really gonna do,
We're gonna switch them.
we'll switch them around.
That's why we're doing this right now.
Couldn't raise the chair, but I could raise the vice chair, and obviously as one person's opinion. They are meeting Thursday. He'd like to discuss it with the planning board Thursday, as far as the need for the public hearing and no public hearing, so I apologize, but, all I could do is do something Thursday, and then they could come back the following Monday if they needed to. That's all I'm sorry, but he's one person, so,
Okay.
without conferring with, he's the vice chair.
Okay, well, instead of coming back, because everybody's time is valuable, correct, so, and we were out under totally, you know,
Yeah.
totally under different understanding what we were gonna do tonight. How if we leave the applications with you, and then if everything goes well on Thursday night, maybe you find a way to sign them, and then Vinnie has to grab them and get them up to the state. Would that be something that's okay with you?
I mean, that sounds logical.
Yeah, we could sign them the following Monday.
Yeah. And then I can let Vinnie know.
Right.
Vote on it, yeah.
And would you need us in here?
Not unless you haven't got nothing to do, I guess.
I've got a few things to do, probably.
I would say only if there's some issues that the planning board comes up with and
Okay.
notifies you about. Otherwise, I'm okay with you not being here.
Yeah.
So we're another week, okay. And I don't want to take up too much of your time on a totally other subject, just quickly. I was here, I don't know, a few months ago, and you guys were nice enough to grant me that agricultural permit to work on that field. And we probably completed about 70% of it. It was in contact with Naomi, we didn't finish it. We did build another field up back for Devrient because it was already part of the reclaimed area. So he's able to get a 25-acre field there along with what's already there, so that's that. We are going to come back this winter because that piece of property has a site-specific on it that Vinnie renewed. So I'm just going to come back and actually get a permit over the winter for that piece, and there's another acre and a half next to it that Mr. Devery wants to farm that's just got fill material on it. So instead of going back and forth and trying to get these agricultural permits, we just like to get in and get probably a year permit to remove that material and move it on site. And so that's what we're going to come back and do, so. We never,
For the 409, 104?
yeah.
Okay.
And then there's, on the other side of the railroad tracks is a small section of a little bit less than 2 acres.
Okay.
And, you know, it's less than 100,000 square feet, so it doesn't need a site-specific. So it'll just be local approval, so we're going to just bring those two in.
You'll do that
Hopefully-
this winter?
Yeah, when it's slow, and hopefully it's not much of a process, so.
Yeah.
So that way you won't have to worry about next spring people calling you about a gravel removal operation or something out front.
Okay.
So just to let you know that, that's where our attention is. Okay?
Thanks for the heads up.
Thank you.
Brings us a solar update.
I'm David Erickson, and I'm here with two other members of the group that's been meeting, calling ourselves the Solar Committee. It was kind of instigated by Laurie Gordon. Sam Small's also been active with us. Others that couldn't be here, Liz Evans has been an active participant. Paul Dosher is out of the country, so he wasn't able to be here, but he has a lot of knowledge in this kind of area, so we're glad to have him with us, and Chris Conroy and Jeff Jackson. So I'll give you those names before I head out. So we're a group of Ware residents who've been meeting for over a year now to explore possibilities for energy cost savings for the town. We want to work closely with the Select Board and other town boards and committees to make sure there isn't, duplication or miscommunication, inefficiencies. We recognize three general ways that we could cut costs for the town or townspeople and help reduce carbon emissions at the same time. One would be solar energy that could be generated on town property to offset the energy use for town buildings, and that could include our schools, perhaps a new library addition if that ever happens. On school property could be another possibility of where solar panels might be located, and then down at near the town garage. We wish that town garage roof had faced the other way. Shucks, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But maybe somewhere else on that, down there, or even on Felch Farm. We just have to explore all of these and see what makes sense. Also, there's a community power coalition that we've been in contact with that may offer a lower electric rate for the townspeople, or the town as a municipality. We also plan to research energy savings which might be possible through increased efficiency at town buildings, schools, and so forth. Solar panels installed on homes and businesses have an initial investment, but the payback period has been shrinking over the years. For me, I put on solar panels in 2016 on my home, just 12 of them. Their payback period was just 6 years, so since then, it's basically been free. My little electric car and all of my electric use, I just pay the delivery fee, $13.89. So if we could have that kind of savings for others in the town, for the town itself, it's really a no-brainer to look into this and see what we can do. I spoke with Chris up at the SAU. He wasn't in his office, but he thought off the top of his head that the schools spend $50,000 a month on electricity. Is that possible? I got to double check on that, but if that's the case, there's a lot of room for some savings. So let's look into it. As we continue our work, we kind of like your blessing. As are we an official town committee? So that's question number one. It might be advantageous, like the Conservation Commission, if eventually we might want to be a commission so that we can do things like apply for grants. I've heard it's easier. There are reasons why being a commission allows you to maybe have a fund that you could expend from to hire consultants and stuff like that. So that's something in the future that we want to look into. And are we correct that if we were looking for bids for solar panels at some location in the town that we need 3 bids, or can you ever get away with 2? There aren't many people doing this. So those are questions that we'd like addressed, if you know answers or can come up with them. Revision energy is the big one, but it's also fairly expensive. There are some smaller ones, but they often won't work with a municipality. They don't do that scale of work. But as for the first question, are we an official town committee?
My answer is no, not yet.
What do we do?
Because Lori and I had a conversation in regards to starting as what we can do and what we can look into.
Yeah,
So, I'm not sure, I mean, we had a conversation about solar energy. But as far as a committee, I'd have to double check as to how we establish a committee, a formal committee. And then technically, we've been having our committees meet here so that everybody knows what's going on.
that makes sense.
And things like that. So before you went out, if you're not a committee, and established or tried to do RFP for
Right.
quotes, you probably couldn't.
Right,
People would probably wonder what you're doing.
yeah.
So I guess I would check with the board's, grace that we would see what it takes to establish you as a committee. I know a lot of communities do have energy committees, a lot of towns have energy committees.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just my instinct, because that's the conversation that started, which I'm great to see all you people are interested, where,
Yeah,
solar, I think, is the thing to come. Wind would be next.
yeah.
Wind
We
energy, yeah.
have several thousand footers.
Right. Right.
In town,
So, I mean, I'd happily look into it for you guys, but I don't, my gut instinct says no, because we started out kind of seeing if there was interest, and now there seems to be a lot of interest, which
Yeah.
is the right thing.
We do. So
So I would have to double check with town council to see if we have to put something on the warrant to establish it, but I don't really know.
Okay. Well, you'll be in
Started out as a
touch then.
conversation and some interested parties, because we weren't sure if, there was gonna be a lot of interest, so, but there is a lot of
There
interest,
is
obviously. there's
plenty of
6 you,
interest
yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot of good reasons to do it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
I
if
heard
you
a lot-
could
lot of
go ahead.
names.
Yeah, there is a lot of names.
Guess my question was gonna be is how do we start one? If
Well,
you-
I don't
'cause you
know,
gotta
that's
go
what
to
I mean,
I
I'd
thought I
have
had to go
to-
to town vote to establish one, I thought.
Right, and that's what I was thinking, but I don't know, it's something we could sponsor as the
Sure,
town, they don't have
sure.
to do the petition. But like I said, I'd have to double check
Yeah,
to our
and
steps.
Step one is certainly, what are the steps? What are the implications? Like, we talk about, being able to bid, what other implications are there? What comes with being an official committee? So, yeah, I'd like to understand that better.
Do we need bylaws, for instance?
Right.
I was gonna ask if you know of any idea of your scope or charter. Have you guys talked about anything of that regard? Is it only solar, is it just energy reduction in general?
We'd want to work on any energy, who knows what's coming down the pike, but,
Do you know other communities if they have A, energy committee, and B, bylaws, that's the easiest way to not reinvent the wheel.
Laurie, does Dunbarton have an energy committee?
Yeah, Bo, but I've been working with Bo and Dunbarton, and they both do.
So you could ask them to share your bylaws and things like that, that would be that. I don't know, I'd have to have somebody else the implications, because I don't know that answer. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you could just use, if you're happy with those bylaws, that's what a lot of them do.
Yeah, we'll find them, look them over.
So do you want me to, reach out, and then whatever they send me, I'll forward to you? Does that sound like a good idea?
I guess that's a starting point, I guess I'm not really the boss, but these guys are the,
Yeah, just looking for information first.
yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to see what,
Send it to you, you'll send it to the bosses?
yeah.
Okay.
Right. And would you like our emails on this, or you have?
I have Lori's, I have some of yours,
have mine.
yeah, because Lori has included me in some of the conversation, actually most of our conversations.
All right.
But I don't know to answer Selectman Bloom's question, I don't know what implications, I'd have to double check on that.
Great, well, it's good to get started and
Yep.
let you know what we're doing, and I'll just give you this in case it's useful to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate all the time and effort and the update.
Yeah. Or, I guess, Naomi, do you mind just emailing a copy of this to us?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
just run it.
So, yeah, I guess we'll just have Naomi check into how you start.
Yeah,
And
and
what
we
goes along
can-
with it, and,
Make a decision when we know more.
right.
It'd be
Certainly
nice to
sounds
get-
like something we'd be interested in moving forward with once we know how it works.
We're just volunteers, so
Sure, no, we appreciate that.
we'll try to get to be experts.
Well, if you've done solar at your own house, you kind of know some of the questions to ask, don't you?
No problem.
Yeah?
Certainly worked out for me.
Good. Yeah, I guess we just mentioned, Naomi, this would have you check and see how we form a committee and what goes along with it, so we can, then we can make a decision if we want to form a energy committee. I guess it would be called energy committee more than solar, correct?
Yeah, it'd be energy. Yeah.
And if you want to check into commission versus committee to see if there are reasons to look in that direction anyway as time goes by.
Sure. All righty.
Thank you
Well,
very
thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
much. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Sam.
Next on the agenda, I guess, is Forester discussion with Conservation Commission. I have a couple members in the audience.
Okay. Hey, good evening.
Evening.
Steve Nager. Doesn't remember me or whatever. So, the Conservation Commission unanimously voted to ask the Board of Selectmen to actually not go out to bid for a forester and to sign the proposed agreement that Meadowson Timberland signed on October 23rd. And there was one strike through on the proposed contract, I think y'all have it, and that related to, I think that the framework of this actual contract came from Laura from another town, and apparently they had the prospectus and solicitation of bidders included in the Forest Harvest Administration, and Meadowson traditionally had charged the hourly rate for that part of it, because on a typical timber sale, you get, there's a administration fee out of the actual timber harvested that the forester gets, and that's outlined in this agreement as well. It's a price per 1,000 board feet or whatever the product is. So that's what that strike through is. So the discussion, with the Conservation Commission, we've kind of been back and forth over many years, and it just wasn't really clear why this thing never got signed. The Board of Selectmen, a previous board, waived the town purchasing policy. The Conservation Commission has worked with Meadowson for many years, and I think it was prudent to continue working with them because of all the services they offer, including the geographic information services, the forestry. They've done a good job for years, and we've been very happy with them. And during the discussions over the years, there's other things that the town acquires that doesn't go out to bid. It seems like the town attorney, there's lots of attorneys, we never go out to bid on that. I believe we don't go out to bid for Avatar.
We do.
Oh, we do on that one? Okay, sorry. And then we've got the town engineer, is that one out to bid as well, or is
It hasn't for a long time, but it
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah,
We did get a list together of the things that need to go out to bid,
Yeah.
like January 1st, and the town council's on that list.
yeah. So in any event, we thought it was prudent to stay with Meadowson, and then, essentially if there's some overarching reason to force it to go out to bid, we need to work together as a board and a committee. So I don't think it's prudent to do that right now. I think we need the support of the forester right now, so I would at least push that off for a year or two if we decided not to just sign this for 5 years. And talk about the selection criteria, because the problem, the last time around, we went through this, and this was under Fred Francesco, whenever he was here. and you just said, do what you want. But when we sat there and reviewed the proposals, you know, the only thing that separated them was Meadowson responded 100% to the outreach that we had. That was all it was, because I mean, the administration prices, the cost are all very similar. So it's going to be challenging. I think, you know, between the Board of Selectmen and the Conservation Commission, if we did go out to bid, you'd need to know how to evaluate this, because then you'd almost need to understand what products are we gonna sell, how many management plans over the next 5 years are we gonna have, what's the fee to come in and talk to us, what's the oddball stuff, like, going out and dealing with boundary maintenance. There's all these different issues that kind of crop up that they've handled for us, and it's gonna be complicated to sort of come up with a criteria to be able to award that contract, if we're honestly gonna look at other vendors. But, the 100% vote from the commission is we don't wanna do that. We don't think it's time well spent. They're doing a good job, recommend to stick with it. The other part that the selectmen should realize is that, heard a lot about there's no valid contract, but there is one kind of lingering contract right now. There's a signed forestry services agreement for that Felch Farm harvest. And so MTL has their time into marking that harvest, which they don't get paid till the harvest gets executed. So we've got this problem of, the harvest is delayed pending that issue. And so if we just cut ties with them today, there'd be some sort of an action. We'd have to come up with an agreement on how you get out of that and pay it. So there is a signed agreement for that. But again, overarching request from the Conservation Commission is to sign the contract we have, that Jeremy signed. I'd suggest signing it for 5 years. If that's not gonna work, I'd suggest let's at least give it a year or two and have some meetings lined up to go over how we're gonna deal with actually going out to bid, because it's not gonna be easy. And I don't think it's time well spent. I mean, as a long-term member, they're a solid company. It's not just Jeremy. It's a lot of, it's Laura French and the hard work she's done with GIS. It's the various forestry techs that they've had. They have foresters, Matthias. They've done just solid work. They do a great job administering timber harvest, but they come in here too. I don't think everyone, sometimes we just don't have a lot of participation in conservation, but we were having them doing quarterly reports, explaining forestry. They've held town forestry field days to educate the public. So there's just been a lot that's gone on that they've done that's been really good.
Yeah, I remember when they did a walkthrough up on Poor Farm.
Yeah.
The public,
Yeah. So I highly recommend sticking with that waiver of the purchasing policy and signing that contract.
I am in favor of putting it out to bid, but we are not, they may be chosen. Like you say, there are some complicated criteria. We are not obligated to choose like the lowest bid, for instance. We are allowed to take anything into account, including they've done good work for the town in the past. But just from I think that there is a long list of things that we've been shown that have not been put out to bid in a long time. They are one of them. So more than anything for me, it's just, I don't want really to start granting one exception here and then somebody else is gonna grant an exception. I just want to clean slate all these things that have been lingering. This, to me, is one of them. And we may come back around and find out, yep, they are the best choice, right back in. But I'd like to go through the process.
Yes?
Well, I wasn't here for the beginning of the discussion that got us to this point, so I don't have a lot of input into how we got to the not signing the agreement to begin with, other than the first discussion that I sat through. I do agree that there is benefit in going out to bid on these things occasionally, and I also agree that there's benefit to the town on selecting preferred suppliers and preferred service providers such as a forester. So I think in the long run, we need to get to that point.
Sherry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the commission, on the Conservation Commission, and I think overall, what I've seen is that Meadowson has done a very good job for us. You know, whether we, have to go out to bid, I mean, I think that the Conservation Commission has to be involved with whoever. If we had 2 or 3 people sign up, I think they have to have a lot of input in this because they have more knowledge than people on the board have. So,
I think if I'm not mistaken, the structure was to have the bids go out, have them reviewed, similar like Jason does to a truck, or to paving companies, or to, because that paving contract is several $100,000, but at the end of the day, they make the recommendation, we don't sit and pick through.
right,
It's their recommendation to us, just like Jay does, and it's not necessarily the lowest bid.
right.
There could be a lot of other facets to why they make the person, that's good for them.
Well, I certainly think that we've had good luck with Meadowson. I do know there's other things like the engineer and attorney we've talked about going out to bid, so I think it's hard if we pick or choose. I am and have been since we started discussing or beginning even arguing about the Felch Forest. I'd like to see them see that through, or they've
Yeah,
started
yeah.
2/3 of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know
That
how
was
we
a
do
good point,
that.
for sure.
It's not gonna happen before January 1st, that job gets,
Yeah.
they marked it, they have the historical understanding, they marked it the last time it got cut, and it's a timber management, which there's a lot of value in having a company that does a good job staying doing it because they understand the management. A new guy comes in or company, gals come in and they get a different idea if we're happy with the management style. But I guess it's not much different than I was always happy with Tenco bodies. You never see me come in and recommend somebody other than Tenco, and they weren't always the cheapest. Tenco wasn't, but I would recommend, it was up to the board to decide, but I think we're gonna have to go out to bid in the end, but I'd like to discuss what we do with Felch Forest, because not only is it fair, it's 2/3 done.
Yep.
Other than the logging portion is done,
Right.
Well.
and that's not gonna happen before
There's a-
January 1st or even
I-
March
I
1st.
think I heard
There's a
Steve
signed contract
propose
with them, so they're doing the work.
a 1 year.
Yeah.
What's that? I'm
I
sorry.
thought I think I heard Steve propose a 1 year.
I did too, and that's what I was gonna see what the feeling on that was.
So, and I'm not opposed to it, but are there other things that will start within that 1 year that then we could be facing the
It's the
same
same
thing of, oh,
thing.
but they've started it? So is there anything?
No, I mean, so that, understand how how the funding works with this. I need to email you all the New Hampshire Conservation Handbook too. There's one online, because I know it has a lot of answers for questions. So with MTL, you've got timber harvest. So, I mean, if we're gonna go into this renegotiation, or going out to bid, or whatever you wanna call it, it's not really a true bid, then I think we would not have MTL mark any new harvest this year to try to get past. You could, I mean, even with this current contract, I don't know how loggers' availability is, you might not finish it by next January, but you could. So that would kind of eliminate that problem. And then you have like if we just said any projects have to end by the end of January, unless the town decides otherwise. So there's a couple different funding sources, right? There's the town forest account, the selectmen are the agents who expend, and the town votes on that. Okay, and then the other source that gets used for some of the projects that MTL does is the town conservation account, which the Conservation Commission is the agents who expend. And sometimes that'll be like boundary maintenance on a town conservation land. It may be coming in and talking to the commission about whatever, there's an hourly charge with that. It may be like the website development, where we had the maps developed to go on the website so that the public could access the maps. That was, I believe, out of the conservation account. So there's those two accounts, and there's a few different kinds of projects. So I think, if we're just extending for a year, we wouldn't have a new timber harvest, but it would really be prudent to have them wrap up this harvest, because we're gonna end up owing them money if we don't. Otherwise, we have income coming in, and there's no issues over that. And then, I guess if everyone's agreeable, I'm sure the commission will discuss it and will probably be agreeable as well. That makes sense. But I think we should have like a work session just to make sure
Oh, absolutely.
what we're actually asking and how we're gonna decide that, so there's no battles.
Sure.
So that would give us some breathing room. I don't think it's prudent. I think it's not time well spent, but, you gotta do what you gotta do. You're running the town, I'm not, so we're gonna have different outlooks on this. Don't wanna get into any challenges, with other foresters that felt like they wasted their time as well, that there was never any intention to hire anybody else. I mean, that's kind of a thought, how you avoid that.
Right.
Yeah, because I hate to waste their time. I mean, we're so happy with the work that MTL has done. That goes a long way, so they're up against that.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and then, I guess, once we get past this thought, we need to decide, like, can we go back out to bid on Felch to get that off the table, So we maybe need a thought on that afterwards.
And that would just be for the logging, or what's the scope of that?
Yeah, so that's the timber harvest that's laid out, that, the history, I wasn't in all the meetings, I was gone part of the summer. So we, the commission, went out in the field with Meadowson to talk about the harvest layout. And there's been a lot of interest in trail, so we're trying to like maximize opportunities during timber harvest to leave, things that can be used for recreational trails. So that was our focus. And then the harvest went out to bid. Couple things got screwed up. The actual, like, to me, like the prospectus, which is essentially the statement of work, didn't have enough information about what that work included. And then the high bidder was rejected because of that, and, some other concerns, and I wasn't in those meetings, don't want to like relive that. So what we need to do with Felch is get a new statement of work that really clarifies what we're asking, that extra work, needs to say, it's 5 loads of gravel, it's
Right.
this trail, it's this gate. And that was left out, and I think it was articulated during the showing, which is, with all loggers, but it just, for some reason, it didn't go well. And then also the bid opening process got like royally screwed up, where MTL opened it in their office, not publicly. They'd never done that before. From now on, I think what we talked about, and hopefully it's good with the board, is that the opening would either be at the Conservation Commission or at the next Board of Selectmen meeting if the Conservation got canceled for some reason.
Yeah.
So to make sure that's open in public.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
I mean-
saying you wanna go out to back out to bid with those few discrepancies fixed? for
I would have a
Felch?
whole, personally, I can't speak for the commission, I would have a statement of work reviewed by the Conservation Commission, that then I would put that out to bid.
Can you guys, you guys are meeting, I know you're meeting Wednesday, because Andy just emailed me, and I'll post before I leave tonight
Yeah.
for Wednesday's meeting. Is that something you could do Wednesday?
We're not gonna have the statement of work ready from Wednesday, we might, but I doubt it. I mean, I can ask Meadowson if that's what, this board wants to do, and then, I don't know if we'll have it in time to review or not, but kind of short turnaround, but that's possible, I don't know. So, certainly call and ask, and then we'd have to add that on the agenda.
Yeah, so the only thing I have a question is, and I can't wrap my head around it, is we looked at a draft. Then the draft was circulated to the conservation, of which I have the corrections made with Jeremy's initials. That statement that now is being removed, what has changed between what was okay then and what was okay now?
He didn't pick up on it, apparently, and I can't totally speak for him, but that's my understanding. That's never been,
'Cause we would have signed this had we not waited, and now why? So we would have paid both ways? I'm just trying to figure it out.
No, so what we got billed for and what we've traditionally got billed for is the actual prospectus preparation, solicitation of bidders, and the showing of the operation was on the hourly. That's what they've always done. The timber sale administration, which is the marking the trees, the going out there periodically checking the loggers to make sure they're conforming to the contract and state laws, is incorporated in the amount that they get out of the harvest, the board feet per, let's see,
Yeah, it's the fee schedule.
yeah,
There's a percentage
right.
of stumpage for the administration. So had we signed the original one that was okayed, we would have paid both.
No, we wouldn't, no, if they were held to the original,
That didn't have it crossed off.
right, they
We would
would,
have paid both.
no. No, you wouldn't.
Okay.
So with this one, you know, you're paying for that prospectus, the showing, and then the administration is coming out of the revenue.
Okay.
So that's the only difference. So whatever forester this was, whatever town this came from that Laura got, that was,
Yeah.
that, they
It
just
came
did it
from
differently.
Northwood, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just did it
But
differently.
it went through us, we looked at it, sent it to you, you okayed it, sent it back, and that's kind of where it stopped, but now it's changed, and that's why I don't understand.
Didn't get caught by Jeremy. It's just not the way they do it. I mean, if we want to go back and fight that out with them and say, hey,
I'm not looking to fight with anybody, I just trying to wrap my head around why, that's all.
just because they don't do it that way, they charge for
So-
those services.
And the other thing is your year end is in 2 weeks, so technically January 1st, you don't have any money.
You do though, because you have conservation. This agreement can be used for either fund. This is just an
Out of
overarching.
your conservation money?
Huh?
Out of your conservation money?
Yes.
The article ends December 31st for forestry.
Right,
So
conservation.
then we don't
can
have
be
any
used.
money for forester services until it's voted on in March.
So that is only so you've got this overarching agreement, and then you've got tasks that go out. And like I just said, if the commission is sitting there and we have a task on conservation land, we have traditionally paid that out of conservation, not out of town forest. So if there's boundary maintenance to be done on a piece of conservation land, we've used MTL, we've paid for it out of conservation. This is just an overarching handshake. The contracts that get signed per tasks are called a forestry services agreement. So if we say, you know, if they say, look, we think it's time to harvest in Felch Forest, they come in with a proposal that's called a forestry services agreement, and the chairman or whoever is voted on to sign the agreement signs it. That's tiered under the overarching agreement. So to have the overarching agreement, you don't need, you know, a budget from the forestry account.
No commitment to expend,
Right, none,
agreed to it.
none. But, you know, so say January 1st, we could still sign the hourly, because that's just $75 an hour, and says like those miscellaneous tasks, because we know we have town conservation money to pay for the hourly if we found a task that we needed to do that. We could also, in this case, we just said we're not gonna, but let's just say in a normal year, we could also sign a forestry services agreement that was strictly just revenue driven. The timber harvest money was coming in. So those are those examples. Naomi's right, I mean, we can't spend something we don't have, right? So, but there's a mix of accounts here, and there's a couple different, you know, it's kind of a weird thing, because you get revenue coming in too.
So as far as the Felch Forest job, any further work would be paid out of the stumpage currently? Whatever's been done that would be over and above the stumpage has been paid for, marking bounds and,
Well, yeah, the only other thing we're gonna have to do is find out what their cost for that new perspective is gonna be, and then encumber it, you know, on the next meeting, or use conservation to deal with that small fee. It's not gonna be a huge amount of money, but they just need to update that draft, and then however much time it takes to redo. If they're gonna redo the showing, I'm not clear, because I wasn't here on those discussions, if they
Yeah,
were
that's what I
gonna.
was gonna ask you, are they gonna redo the site walk and everything else?
I
or-
don't know.
yeah,
I don't,
okay.
you know, we haven't gotten that far.
Sure.
I missed a few meetings. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would hope not, but you know, maybe if they want to broaden the pool of loggers, I don't know if the discussion was just to re-invite just the ones who bid, or or if it was to go back out.
I think this time around it was to just start over and go back out.
Yeah.
They tried to do the ones that
Yeah.
just did, and it was a mess, but.
Okay, so yeah, I would assume there's gonna be a little bit of a fee involved with that, you know,
So it was
so.
because there was a fair amount of road work expected to be done to get the landing off the road, because it's well-traveled road going to the dump, and some people
Oh.
expected to build a highway, and some expected just to put a
Okay.
skidder road, because it wasn't spelled out in the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we wanted to go back out to bid to specify, we expected this for the road work to be done.
Yeah, and that helps with the context of what road it is, thank you.
Right, 'cause some people
Yeah.
punch them in with the front of the skidder, and some take excavators and
Mm-hmm.
real gravel, so.
Well, and that was a real concern, you know, on my end when hearing about it, is I think that, there's a cost no matter what. I mean, whether someone, you know, put that cost down or not. I think it needs to be clear that we wanna see a cost for whatever work you're planning on doing. And we need to specify how much gravel, how much road,
Right.
our trail needs to get built, and that wasn't there, you know?
Yep.
That was like, that's our fault too, for not reviewing, you know, it's gone so seamlessly over the years that we just didn't mess with that statement of work. At least I don't remember, you know, having a big discussion about it, and we need to do that in the future. We need to pay more attention, so that's something you learn as a, you know, as a commission member. Just didn't go perfectly, and I think we've all learned a lot, from that.
Steve, that prospectus work was done subsequently back last September. Jeremy had it ready to go, we got here and it stopped again.
Oh, the update, okay. So, yeah, I mean,
So you
but we
might
can.
be able to pull it together for Wednesday,
Wednesday.
right?
No, but if we get the fee, if he can get it to us, but, so the statement of work, but he's still gonna have, you know, estimated, if we're gonna show this to the world again, so however many hours that is, we just encumber it
Good.
off this year's budget. We can do that, or just pay for it out of conservation, either way, it doesn't matter.
So do we have to somebody have to make a motion here to
Well, that's,
expend him for
they,
to have this MTL for the following year, for 1 year?
well, I think you're sitting at the overarching agreement
Is Meadowson, right?
is Meadows End, and
Medicine,
I
yeah,
think
Timberlands.
if I took it down wrong, I believe it's 3-1 or 2-2, so it doesn't go anywhere if it's 2-2. That's why you have 4.
Well, we haven't voted.
I know, I'm just saying from what, I guess,
So I
you
guess-
talked about going out to bid, but we're talking about two different things. You're
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about the forester, you're talking about going out for Phelps Farm.
But I think
talking
there's,
two different
I think there's, right, I think we need to decide, A, are we gonna extend it? And if we are, how long? A year, just through this contract? Or are we just gonna stop until March? I'm in favor of at least extending it long enough to them to finish Felch Forest. We wanna go out to bid this March, we wanna give them a year to put something together. I agree, it isn't an easy thing to put together, especially if they haven't done it in 5, 6 years. I mean, couldn't imagine rewriting a road bid in a month if I hadn't done it.
Yeah, and I don't want them to throw it together and then
No.
have some other shortfall that
No.
we don't know about because we didn't take our time and
So I would be,
15 years.
willing to put them up
15.
15 years.
Yeah.
I would be willing to, you know, entertain the thought of extending it 1 year. It has to go out to bid, you know, if it's January, March, I guess, if it were a year. Were we doing January or after March meeting all the other bids?
January.
January.
We need to get some together, though. Like, we need to do our own, like, if we're doing town council,
Oh, I agree.
engineer, and whatnot, we need
Yeah,
to get those together.
right, so, but I guess my personal biggest reason for wanting to extend it is to see Felch Forest through,
Then you can tie it to Felch Forest.
so. At least for timber harvest, I mean, if there's something that bounds need to be marked or whatever, fine, but I don't think you need large timber harvests.
No more.
We just don't we don't want this to happen again, keep.
Right. So, but do you have to have a forester contract to complete Felch Farm?
So, can I interject? So,
Can I just have 1 second?
yeah, sure.
I think you're bumping into the reality of what this service is. You know, this is a rolling forward service. This is updating plans, executing plans. This is a lot of moving parts.
Right.
You know, this is not buying a widget. You know, this is multi-year planning, so anywhere you stop it, you know, things are gonna start banging into each other and the work will slow down or cease.
Mm-hmm.
To then restart it potentially with another entity who has to do all the background work. So then I guess that's a question we could ask. How much background work do you have to do to become current and get these, get to a certain point or a certain pace of harvest work? You've got one entity that's been doing it for 17 years, and you've got other entities that are starting from zero.
Well, I understand that, but if we get back on schedule, and then hopefully, boards change and commissions change is the unfortunate part of something like this, but hopefully then they're on it. You know that 5 years from, in 2029 is coming again, so to re-up for the bid process, so then we'll be on it, My uniform bid, same thing, really, it kind of stinks to have to go out every time, but every 5 years they come up, and if not, it kind of
But
stops.
your
us
uniform
going.
guy doesn't have to know what the previous guy was doing. He doesn't have to rewrite.
But if it's not written, no,
uniform.
everything stops.
So I just want to speak clearly that I'm just trying to make the point that it is a unique service, unlike most other services within the operations of a
I
town.
don't disagree, but it won't be any different than the engineer attorney.
And I would like to hear from the board just what the goal of the rebid is. Is it to get a better price? Is it to get a better team? So this is where, I struggle with how do we put together a bid that addresses the desires that are not the commission's desires, but they are the board's desires. So there's Steve's suggestion of a work session, which makes good sense. But, anytime you go out to bid, I think you're looking for something, looking to achieve something, not just to stamp something.
Not necessarily. I disagree with that because I kind of had a preferred paving contractor, right? But I had to go out to bid every single year for paving, unless I did a 2-year contract. I had one I hoped would get it, and there was one time they weren't the lowest. I'd come in and make an argument as to why I wanted that company, same as I would expect you guys to do. But it followed the policy that the board made me follow. And it kind of kept them honest. They knew that there was competition. They knew that Pike Industries might be bidding against them, and I shouldn't throw names out. They knew a big guy might be bidding against them, and it kind of holds them their feet to the fire that they're not gonna, and I'm not saying that's the case with this instance, but that's the reasons they're going out to bid is,
Yeah.
Especially publicly like this, we can't be saying, like, we have no intention to pick somebody else. Like, then they can come in and bid at twice their price, and then what's the point? So it's, when you ask what's the intention, well, it's a little bit of everything. You know what you want, you guys know better than we do what they need to do. If you find somebody comes out of left field that does the exact same job at half the price, well, that was a win for the town. It may be unlikely, but we don't know unless we go through the process.
And Avatar, we've had Avatar for how many years, and every 5 years we put it out to bid, and they're the only ones that bid. He may be the only one that bids, because he knows what's there.
Well, my
So
point
to answer your
is,
question before we go on, from my perspective, it's to make sure that we're spending the taxpayers' money wisely. And the Conservation Commission, you guys get donations and things, and I think you'd want to do the same thing with your money.
One thing, if I can interject, Andy, is I think forestry is so different in the consistency and understanding, we've got 2,000-something acres that are actively managed, so they're intimately familiar and have walked those woodlands and understand it. So they're, if you save $5 an hour, is it really worth it for that person to go learn all that we've got? You're going to lose it on that end. But, I wouldn't do it if it was up to me. I don't think there's a savings. I really don't. It's just all so close in the consultant forestry. If there was a problem, I would kind of agree with you, but we're not seeing that. But, I'd be happy to walk away at this point with just getting, the agreement that will execute the timber harvest, and we would, we'll work with you over the course of a year. I wouldn't hamstring that agreement. I would just leave it, wide open with the understanding that we won't order a new timber harvest, because that's the only thing that'll get drawn out. But I don't think it's a great decision. And, maybe through the course of us getting together, a meeting, and in a work session, you understanding this a little better, you might just say, yeah, this is not a good idea.
Yeah, I'm open-minded to, we may come out at the other end and say, this is really something that we do want to go single source on, and here's why.
Yeah, and that would give us some time to deal with this anyhow, if we got, at least got a year. If Medicine will agree to a year. But I think if we just cut things off right now, we're gonna have trouble with
I
the.
agree, I
yeah.
agree with that. I would like to see stretching the year with no new timber harvests.
Started.
And what does the year look like to you? Is that a year from today, from January, from March?
I think we're gonna do things January, I guess my opinion, but it's up to you guys. Cause I don't disagree with anything they've said about the long-term knowledge, I really don't. It's one of them things that I guess we're gonna ask our department heads to do it, we kinda oughta try to follow the same rules, right? But I think there's a very important project that's been started, and it ought to be seen through, and the only fair way to do that is extend it a
So-
certain period of
Then
time.
we're-
So for to start the Felch Forest, that's gonna take a year, is that, I
No,
don't
no.
understand.
No, I think we gotta extend contract somehow, so either
Yeah,
just to
I mean,
see Felch Forest through, or extend them a year and let them continue.
Yeah, I'm asking you, don't tie the overarching agreement in the, what we're talking about here to Felch. I think we need a year, we need a forester. We want to work with you to understand what that bid package looks like, what the criteria are. What I'm saying is we should have a work session. So we'll get the draft together, have a work session, go over it. We want to know what the selection criteria would be. And so that's one issue.
My fear is if we stretch it,
But-
if we don't stretch it a year, and we-
Salem's asking, when does that end?
Right.
Is that,
A year.
is that
So next,
January.
yeah,
January of
yeah, calendar
2025
year.
or
Yeah.
December of 2024? Is that what
Calendar.
you're asking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so it would be next December 31st,
yeah,
right?
So to cover the calendar year 2024.
right.
Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and execute the harvest. So if we, that harvest is money coming in, that's not money going out, but they get that out there, they get that underway hopefully, and get it done by this calendar year. I mean, if the harvest is going, it's gonna go a little longer, so be it. So that's the only thing they'd be finishing up, but hopefully we can get it knocked out in this 2024.
How many acres was that, 50?
I don't have to off the top of my head, but,
Felch Forest is 640, but I don't know how big the
Yeah,
cut
but,
was.
yeah,
yeah, I
but
mean,
they
the
were,
harvest isn't that big.
the harvest was, I think it was around 50 acres they were
It
gonna
was a
do.
large pine cut, and pine's pretty valuable right now.
We were in
I
that,
get-
we were in that hardwood stand
Oh,
we
yeah,
walked
yeah.
around too.
I
It's
didn't
over
look
on the, as you're going down in, was on the left side there. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on the logger, right? I mean, they move pretty fast, some of them.
Yeah.
So,
I guess my personal reason for wanting to maybe extend it the year, not for that one cut, is if there's a land discrepancy, something we need somebody to come help find lines and stuff,
Yeah.
we'd want that service, right?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. But what are we even talking about extending? Like, what have they already agreed to? I mean, what are we proposing? What are we proposing that we will propose to them?
so we're proposing that the stamped signed contract with that one item crossed out, that we will sign that with, and we're gonna put expires.
It needs some change, yeah, because right now it says 5 years.
Right.
So
Well,
you
you can cross that out and
So
sign.
you could eliminate, why not make it clean, right?
I don't think anybody cares at this point. If we just have a signature on there and initialed and they accept it, everybody's good.
Well, there's two different dates. I mean, it says August of '23 and it's signed in October of '23, and now you want to go to '24. You've
Yeah.
got 3 dates now you're missing.
Yeah, make it-
Okay, so, I agree, if you have the electronic version, Naomi, if you can just change that, that date on the top and the board, and then also
1 year.
delete that,
The line?
that on B, so we just renumber, there would just be 3 items on that,
And then the expiration, it
2B.
says 5 years, I think, somewhere.
yeah, and the expiration will,
Yep.
just plainly put
Be
the
12/31.
expiration is
December
December 31st,
2024.
2024. And then, I'd like to get a separate, just vote authorizing the commission to to move ahead with the felch harvest, just so that's clean and everybody can see that, and then we'll put a prospectus back out to the
And that would be with a rebid of the
Yeah,
the
full
timber.
showing, full rebid, to everyone that's
What's the
interested.
timeframe for that actually going back out?
Let's send it right out. I mean, if we can get that tackled, we might have to have a special meeting. I mean, I would think it would be advertised by early January at the latest and, out on the market. Again, I can't sit here saying what Meadow Sun's schedule is, but we'll try to move that
Just
fast.
because at the time that it was going on, I was of the opinion that we should not keep stirring the pot around and try and get some good solution out of it. But as time goes on, and part of the reasoning for that was we heard from bidders, they said, hey, we've shown our hand. If you turn around and do this immediately, we're now at a disadvantage. But as we get farther away from it, time-wise, that does, in my mind, start to even out a bit more. So that's why I'm curious, like, how far will we be from whatever it was, was it August?
You're almost 6 months, but I would encourage you to think too that, to me, the part of that was misunderstood is the work that needed to go into the improvements. That
wasn't
could have been significantly expensive, and
Changed
that's
that.
screwed up. I mean, it got messed up. I'm here to tell you it got messed up.
The other issue is that the price of pine and stuff in oak may have changed somewhat, and they know that.
That's what I'm
They
getting
deal
at.
with it all the time.
The farther we get away from that problem time, the more variable timber prices may be.
They could have been.
May
yeah.
have
So
changed.
that, yeah,
I don't know if they're the same, higher or lower.
You bid
July?
in July.
They went up a lot last week.
it does make me feel better about doing that process.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, they've changed, markets have fluctuated quite differently, and I think, like it or not, it's been pretty well put out there as mistakes by everybody, and that the scope of work wasn't clearly bid on. So hopefully that feeling's not still there. Probably will be. There's a different outcome, but. I mean, I know I got an email last week that certain species went up significantly last week, so, by certain mills, so. Things have changed, for sure, maybe for some, so. But- So I guess what you're asking for 2 motions tonight, right? One for that and one,
On this,
is there any more discussion amongst the board? I guess first we talk about
No,
the,
I'm ready to call the question.
So is there any kind of rush on the contract?
the harvest contract,
Because I wouldn't mind just seeing the edited version one last time.
which contract?
The one that, the 1
Maybe-
year,
Meadows
the
and-
extension to the end of 24.
Naomi's gonna edit it.
Yeah,
She
but if
can
you're looking
email
for a
that out.
motion for us to say, oh, go ahead with the edited version, I would feel more comfortable actually seeing
Seeing
the
it.
edited version one last time.
Well, Naomi can email it to us.
is there-
Sure,
they're
but that's gonna
meet-
happen
But
after
that's-
this meeting.
That's gonna happen after the meeting.
You're gonna, what, meet Wednesday,
They're gonna meet Wednesday.
and then that's it for this year?
Can we just email Naomi back, read it, and say yay or nay, or?
Did you learn? from
I
the
think
right to
there's
know?
three changes, right?
There is. Simple.
So I think we can outline what those 3 changes are
Okay,
and not drag this out another month.
sure. Okay, I know, can you just recap them one more time?
So you want me to change the dates on the front, delete the line in the section that has been crossed off and initialed,
Yeah.
and to make the expiration now 12/31/24. Do you wanna look at it?
If you don't mind. Sorry, it's just hearing it is like.
It's all right.
This one here. So the date on the front says August of '23, but on the back side where he signed it said October 23rd of '23, and then there's a line
Yep,
crossed through to
BA,
the
yep.
initialed, and then the expiration, I don't remember the number,
That's
but
what I'm
it
talking
says 5 years for the term of it.
Right, Article 5.
So that's gonna say December 31st, 2024.
Okay. And the selectman name will change.
Yes, selectmen have changed too. The
Okay.
the names on that have changed.
I guess I'll entertain a motion on the extension of the forester contract for 1 year.
I'll make a motion to extend or sign the general services agreement between the town and Meadowson with the outline changes, the front dates on page 1, the names and dates on last page, remove the strike through in Article 2B, section, and to change the expiration date to 12/31/2024.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Second, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes, against? 4-0, I guess, now. Then Steve had requested, I guess I don't know if it needs a motion, but he requested if we would make a motion to move forward with a total rebid on Filch Forest. Does that seem reasonable to everybody? Or-
So the only wrinkle in this whole thing, because we went around the first time of who actually authorizes that. And I was of the opinion, and still kind of am, that that's up to you guys. So I don't really want to set a precedent that you have to come to us for those kind of things. I'm happy to give you our blessing to do that, but I don't really want to do that.
I think it would be a good idea for this particular harvest, just in light of whatever goes on.
And that's why I
with it.
say set a precedent. That's fine if you want to one-off it.
Real one-off, and it just real specific to this harvest, just want to
Okay.
have the board's support. If you even want to make a motion that's a Conservation Commission decision, great,
Yeah,
but
we'll do it
I
that
don't
way.
know if
Like to
anyone
walk
has
out of here with
other
something.
opinions, but that, yeah.
No, I know what you're saying.
And the money for that comes out of the conservation fund,
no, it
correct?
goes into the town forest account.
But we,
But there isn't any money after January 1st.
If there's any additional money to be spent before March, it'd come out of
Because town
conservation.
council's made that clear that if, no money until after the vote.
So,
After March town meeting.
so as far as moving forward with the costs, we can get the cost and encumber that out of the town forest account if we want to, if you're talking about just the showing.
Yep,
yeah,
And if that doesn't work out, you can always use town conservation
okay.
for that amount, because it's still for a conservation purpose. And the revenue goes into the town forest account, which the voters then vote on
Yeah.
authorizing expense every year, and the Board of Selectmen are the agents who expend, so.
right. So I
Yeah.
do think that we are the agents to expend on the forest fund, and if that's where the money is coming from, it is a board decision to sign, not recommendation.
We need to hash that one out a little more, because typically we've authorized all the expenditures out of that after that 20, the 20 or whatever it is every year, but that's kind of interesting, because you are the agents who expend. but-
Have we ever
It is a tough
encumbered
one.
that
We're right
money
into
as
that
a
little bit.
special warrant
Conservation's
article
like
though?
special, the one that gets to
Right.
do that stuff,
Right.
yeah.
Not the managing,
Yeah,
but.
I don't-
But if the
I know
money's
you
coming
can in
from
the
our
operating
fund,
budget, but I
then
didn't know
yeah.
you could special warrant articles.
I think so. We have,
Yeah, and I would be okay delegating that to them, but I think officially it has to
Sure.
come through us for that fund, for that particular fund.
Okay. Well, there was a request for doing a one-off anyway,
Right.
and then we can continue to revisit this.
yeah, good idea. It's getting late. I'm hungry.
And you've already stated, just to recap, is gonna ask them to put it back out to bid completely with the revised work to be done. And it'll be, you guys will review it before it's sent out, and it'll be opened, the
In
bids will be
public.
opened in public, either with you or here.
So the game plan is, just to go over this, everybody's super clear, it's on YouTube and in the minutes.
Yep. I brought it up one more time.
Yeah, I know, it's painful. But you live and learn, right? So what I think's gonna happen, because I can't speak for the whole commission, is that we're gonna get a statement of work that we're gonna review. We're gonna make sure we got everything in there we think we are supposed to be getting, which really focus around that recreational trail
Yep.
and the gate. And then, so we're gonna review that, we're gonna authorize that goes out. That's gonna get publicly advertised by the town with the date for when the the proposals need to be back, and they will be publicly open in the following Conservation Commission meeting. If the Concom doesn't meet that month, it'll be open, but in the Board of Selectmen meeting, I think is what we talked about, just so, so people aren't sitting on it for a month or whatever, right? So
Yep.
just the following
Yep.
BOS meeting.
Yep.
With you guys coming here to do that.
You could just do it, even if we can't all make it as a commission. Just somebody from the town's gonna
Right.
publicly
Okay.
open it at the next board that makes sense, you
Yep.
know? So we're not stringing loggers along or.
Yep, no, I agree.
Yeah.
That infers that we will be taking the highest bid.
They're not set up that way.
Because if we're opening it, then that's not like,
We're publicly
who's making
opening
the
it.
decision then?
You're making a decision, yeah. I mean, so it's either the
That's why I said, do you guys come here to do it, because it needs to be done in public.
I'd almost
but-
like the
But you're the one who makes the
conservation-
recommendations,
Right. I'd
so,
almost like them to make the recommendation to
right,
us.
right.
That's
So
a
I'm okay with sharing our airtime for you to do that, but I want to, it's not my decision, it's not our decision. It's your recommendation.
Yeah, and the forester usually recommends that as well. Yeah, I can't speak for the commission. I'd sure come into the next meeting, and that makes sense to me, but, what's the chair think?
We're getting pretty good at this, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I just don't, like I said, I don't want to string a logger around.
I
till
don't
the
either.
next-
No, and I don't think that's our intention either.
Yeah,
I just
no.
think if we're gonna
That's not-
start, make it,
Steve, we have 7 members and an alternate, we can get 4 out.
Yeah, so we'll just state it that way, at the scheduled Conservation Commission meeting or the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
okay.
Did you write that down?
Well, I wrote down until we went back and forth, and then I put my pen down, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
Oh, I got most of it.
if they're
I
looking
mean,
for a
here-
motion, I move to have the conservation put Felch Forest back out to bid with the provisions that they are going to review the scope of work, and the bids are gonna be open in public with them present, whether it's their meeting or Board of Selectmen meeting with them present,
With their recommendation.
the recommendation.
Got another wrinkle though. We voted to table this. For how long?
You didn't vote.
I just want to do this, I just want to do it properly, like,
Well, I think
remember
it blew
voting
up such time, I don't think it was ever voted on, because I didn't, because I was upset that it got tabled. And then I said, well, we'll just put it off for a couple, I don't remember a vote to table it. It was discussed to table
I
it,
think we tabled it, but no date.
right.
I remember tabling it, but no date.
okay. I just want to make sure, like, if it was,
I don't think it went to vote, I just don't think we could get anywhere, and it was getting late, and we tabled it for the night. But we didn't vote, because it wasn't a vote to table it for X amount of time or anything. But I remember, but.
so if we're wrong, and it had been tabled, and we vote to proceed, what are the implications of that?
Well, I don't know what
nothing, I
the,
mean, you're bored.
Well-
so we just voted to extend the contract, and I think the problem, the argument was by the members that wanted to table it was that we didn't have a contract. So we voted to sign a contract with them for 1 year. This work will fall under that contract time, so it should be all up and
Yeah.
up now, I would
Yeah.
think.
I'm not trying to stop this, I think we should do this, I just want to make sure, like, if we did something that we need to undo, we should undo it for, but, yeah, I mean, we're probably in the
We
clear.
were, there was feeling that we weren't with a contract before. Now we are for 1 year.
That was wrong anyhow, though. There was a signed forestry agreement that was legally binding. We're not getting out of that. I mean, there's gonna be some payment to Meadowson.
But now we've corrected that anyway for 1 year,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
if they're the ones doing the work. Sound good to you?
I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't know about the official tabling or not tabling, but
I don't remember an official one, do you?
I've heard 2 people in a nod, I think, that said they don't believe it was officially tabled.
If it had been, would you have any concerns?
Only if there was a time limit on it. Like if they said, let's table this until 2025 or something, but
I
I'm
don't
pretty sure
remember
you guys
that.
would remember
I
that.
don't remember that.
I appreciate your respect for my memory. So, I don't remember it. That's what we have
Well,
minutes
I
for.
mean, a lot of people here are saying they don't recall any
Yeah, that's fine.
timeframe,
That's
so I can't believe everybody would not remember the same
Yeah.
thing.
There were many different ones discussed. There was
Yeah.
nothing chosen. The What I walked into that meeting with back, I believe it was September, maybe very late August.
Yeah, I
think
was
it
gonna say late August, but I'm not sure either.
Walked in with the hope that we could move forward at that time with the rebid. And I remember saying, I was like, hold on, that's not what I understood. And then we got into a long back and forth trying to figure out why we're doing something different, and the brakes were thrown on. It was a stop. Clear stop, please don't go ahead with this Conservation Commission. You know, we need to push this out and figure it out. There was a discussion of, somebody mentioned a year. There was questions asked, well, could this be done in a few months? Could you still get we talked about the scarifying the earth and getting the seed in the ground, so we took advantage of the good mass crop that we were having. We had all sorts of sidebars, but I think you're right, Salem, there was a thought, well, yeah, maybe we can just put this out for a year. And somebody made that as a comment, but there was no consensus of the board, as I recall, and the minutes will show something on it. There was no consensus that said, we as a board vote, here are the votes, this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna, put this out for at least 12 months or what have you. So I would categorize what we're doing now is, basically the refs look at it after further review. This is what we see, what we think a reasonable path forward right now is. But it's, we're in December, so yeah, we're 3 to 4 months later, so another quarter later.
I'm convinced. Did you have a motion we're
I moved
discussing?
it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
haven't motioned yet.
So,
In fact,
August is when we had that
I-
discussion?
Either late August or real early September, I think.
Well, I came across a motion that you don't wanna hear about, so. It says, Mark Phillips' motion to rebid the felled timber forest sale no later than August 23rd, seconded by Commissioner Camacho, passed 500.
Well, but it was in our meeting, though.
That's their meeting.
No, that was at our
No, no,
joint
no.
meeting.
Right, but I'm saying, in our meeting, I had remembered a discussion that
Yeah, no,
to
I
table.
looked through August,
And, yeah, that's fine.
I think, honestly, I think Steve had got, when did you come back from out west fire duty?
I was in Montana, it was August. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe you had arrived home that day and you weren't able to make it over here.
Yeah.
So at the very end,
yeah, August 21st, it was talked about again.
Yeah, that sounds like about right.
Well, I made a motion that we let them do it under the provisions. Of course, discussion, looking for a second if there is no more.
As soon as
Did you
she,
make a motion?
I made the motion, yeah. To let them move forward with Felch Forest as long as, they're gonna have it rewritten. Conservation's gonna review it, and the bids are gonna be open in public.
I think she's checking the minutes quickly from August.
No,
problem.
I found there's another whole long discussion of several pages on that.
Okay. Well, then I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Four?
Yeah, four.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your
Before
patience.
they run off, did you guys see that letter that I put together for the county piece? On town letterhead, it had the report attached, and you asked me if I felt comfortable talking about it
Last week?
last week. It's
The
still in the
four-
sign
yeah.
box. These guys are the ones that are the pros with that, yeah.
Yeah.
So the letter's still sitting there unsigned.
Yep.
The report was attached to it, but they had questions that I didn't feel comfortable, because you guys are the pros with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
This
to
is,
get it out of
Poor
and
farm
make it
town
s-
forest boundary
to
dispute.
make the letter get signed and sent, if they had any questions, I thought, well, I had you.
While you're
that was
here.
okay.
Good idea.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
well, I just thought,
I
I
signed it
didn't,
in the
they're
box,
the pros at it.
That paperwork was in the box last
It's
week.
in the very back.
Yeah, I signed it because I've been
Yeah,
involved
okay,
with
just,
that.
yeah, so I didn't feel comfortable signing it, let's see, because it made a statement
about going for silent title, quiet title? Was that the comment?
Right, right. The town proposes that its attorney prepare a boundary line agreement to memorialize the boundary and prevent any disputes in the future. So again, like, if I'm putting my name next to something the town's proposing, I'd like to understand that part. And then further, if you are not agreeable to doing so, the town will contemplate filing a quiet title action in the Hillsborough County Superior Court to resolve this issue. So just want to understand those two things that this is saying the town is either going to do or considers doing before I put my
You
name
want
on
to
it.
just share a little bit of the background, because you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so, Steve Cargnano got in touch with us to say that he had a survey that indicated, that he owned a significant portion of Poor Farm Town Forest. We had recently blazed and done some boundary work out there, and I think he saw the new blazes. And so he's got a survey, that shows, you know, it's a plat, an old plat, that shows, that, you know, he owns a piece of that. So we funded a surveyor to go, you know, sort through all the deeds and come up with a report. Our report indicates that we own it. The same issue impacts the county property that we purchased subsequent to this problem coming up, and we were confident that, you know, with the county property, that there's a rock wall back there, and that is the actual correct line. So what we're saying is, to Mr. Cargnano, you know, either let's get together and sign a boundary line agreement to correct this, or we're gonna have to take it to court. Because if we leave this lingering, you see, think about like the mess. Let's say the Cargnano comes in there and decides to log it, and he logs the town forest, you know, now we got a bigger mess. As far as I know, nothing's happened out there, so on either side, that's all we're trying to do, is just memorialize an agreement to get, that'll get filed in the registry of deeds, and that would be the end of the problem, if he so agrees.
Steve, can you tell me what's happened since November of 2021? Why nothing's happened at all?
No, so, I mean, we sent an electronic version, and we were never sure if he got it or not. He
Yeah.
never replied, never said a word. So all I did was take the letter that, the conservation had agreed to put it on our letterhead and let you guys sign it. And we're gonna send it regular mail, not email. That's why you guys have a printed copy and there's a printed letter. Once you sign it, it's going in the mail.
Send it registered.
I was gonna say, is that like certified mail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's what I was looking for.
But that was the route, I think the suggestion from town council that that's why they spent the money on the thorough report, which they did a good job with. They went back to.
It's very
whenever.
thorough.
And then, after that got done, we proceeded forward, but we never heard yes, no, bounce back or anything.
How long ago was that electronic
Oh, that
email
was-
sent?
January of this year.
January?
January.
Thanks.
Pushing, I was gonna say about a year ago.
So, the suggestion
He had
was,
initially contacted us by email, so we just
yeah.
sent the response back to that initial contact and nothing.
But before we could take and threaten that, we want to make sure that he at least gets a copy and do it the old-fashioned way. But- So the idea was from them, for us, same letter, just has your signatures on it, and it'll go. That was town council's recommendation on that wording there. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All set?
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Enjoy your dinner.
Appreciate everything y'all doing. Good night.
Good night. I'll take it when it gets down here for the signatures.
What's that?
I'll take it when it comes down to this end
Yeah.
of the table instead of putting it back in the box.
We just have a couple things left, still we have a chance at 8:30. I guess we can
Thank you.
discuss briefly about how we want to proceed with department head reviews. I think that there's 100 templates out there. I don't know why you can't just, I don't know why we gotta reinvent any wheel. We'll just find one we like. I actually just got one, but I it got read to me and I never saw what the questions were, so just got told how they did, so I would bring forth that template, but I don't know what it said, so.
There are lots of templates out there, but we're gonna need to be job-specific in some of the areas of, you know, essential job duties, main job duties, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think we can use a template, but we're gonna have to, for, you know, TA, DPW, put in what their specifics are.
And we're only talking town administrator, DPW director, and police chief, right? At least this year.
Yeah, and I would say next year is fire,
Next
right?
year we'd have
And
fire, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have
do we have any agreement with the Board of Fire Wards that they're gonna do one before March?
They're coming next week, that's what Dave was here for. They're coming next week with
Next
his
week.
budget.
Okay.
They were gonna be here to present the budget, and I think Chairman Hippler had asked them to come when we did the budget, in case we have more questions of, you know, we're gonna talk about transition, I mean,
Right.
that's 3 months away.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of questions on transition, I think, yeah.
So should we look for like 3 templates then? I mean, because just to take one and punch in the job titles, I think that's what you were getting at, isn't it?
Exactly.
It might-
I mean, certainly.
Well, I could take the job descriptions and the main duties and the job descriptions and fill those in for each of the 3 roles. I think the one thing we need to decide on, though, are the other things, you know, are we gonna also discuss problem-solving, teamwork, communication, budget, that kind of thing? Because every one of them prepares a budget.
Right.
Or it goes through and manages to a certain amount of money and that sort of thing, so.
Yeah.
And then what kind of scale do we want to rate it on?
I guess I
1 to
thought-
5, 1 to 4, 1 to 3?
Yeah.
I like 5.
Well,
Make a decision.
5 is easy to go in the middle.
Yep.
A 4 scale, you kind of have to, it forces you to go one way or the other.
Yeah, you're either on the low side or the high side.
I've only ever had,
I can throw it out there to, on the listserv and see if, and then share them with you if you want them all.
Yeah.
Then you guys can decide which ones you like. I mean, we've done that with
helpful
other
before.
ones,
Yeah.
it's been helpful.
Yeah,
because like she said, I think a lot of it is the same, you know, you all work for the public, so
Right.
people
Don't wanna
skills and problem solving is part of any boss's job, it's just.
And teamwork and communication, those all
Right. so I
within the
don't know
department,
how much-
interdepartment, public, all of that.
yeah.
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 So I mean, because I don't think when you come down to job specific, we're, but well, how does he plow snow, or how does he, you know, pull people over, you know what I mean?
Right.
No,
I
but
don't know if them type questions, so.
DPW is gonna need to, how are they handling their resources
That's
in
right.
terms of equipment?
Right.
That's much more DPW-centric than it is
I
TA-centric.
agree.
Right.
I guess the only reason I threw out the templates is I had the same opinion when we were writing specific job descriptions, is I don't think any of us are experts at particular jobs. I don't know about being a police chief, so I don't want to sit here and tell you what his job description should be or what his review form should be. So if we can find some out there and maybe kind of say, well, this fits where better, but instead of drafting from ground zero,
Yeah.
like we were trying to do some of the job descriptions, I just thought that,
Well, if we have the job descriptions already, it's not going from ground zero. We could
Yeah.
just marry that up with the
With-
templates that we find.
I mean, I've reached out before, you don't get everybody, but, I mean, we've gotten a handful, and
Yeah.
it's been somewhat helpful. Some of them,
Yeah.
some are detailed, some are not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some are old, some are not.
Right.
And you started signing yourself up a little bit.
I'm glad to do
So
it.
we've done that, we did that in the past, like somebody took point on draft 1 of the
Okay.
job descriptions. So, I mean, if we can we can get the data back,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
you can just hash it up, so we're not doing this like 2-3
Sure.
weeks in a
Just-
row.
Just like Salem did.
Job descriptions for the ones that are ours,
Yeah.
for those 3 positions, and then if you have any templates that you get back from listserv,
Yeah.
I'd be glad to try and marry those 2 things up. But I do think we need to decide or put a path forward to deciding on a scale.
That's fair.
So just to be, so when I get the templates back, I'll include you all, but she's gonna take the run with it. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, the couple of different ones that I've done, was either 0 to 3 or 1 to 4, but four of them. But what I didn't like about both of them was the bottom one, remember that was 0, 1, was you're doing all right. And the third one was almost perfect, and the fourth one was above perfect. So it was like, there wasn't any,
Need
a
improvement.
lot of them that like ones and twos fit everybody. Everybody's coming to work, doing their job, and they're doing it well, so that kind of fits in between, you know, you're
If
really good truck
if I were to
driver.
propose a 1 to 4 scale, I would say 1 is unacceptable or not satisfactory. There's no ambiguity there. You're
Right.
not meeting the requirements
You're
at
not
all.
meeting all the
For
requirements.
some reason, that's different than most of them, so I agree with you on that.
Number 2 would be you need improvement. You may be okay in some areas,
But
but
not
you
in
really
others.
overall need improvement in that area. Number 3, your meets, you're competent.
Right,
And 4 would be you exceed
Exceptional.
expectations.
yeah.
I agree with those.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And if I were to put together a 5 scale, the only thing I would do is probably break out 4 and 5 to be above average and excellent.
Right.
With 3 being competent, 2 being needs improvement, and 1 being, you're totally missing the
Out to
mark.
lunch.
I personally like your 4 one. That's how I'd
Yeah.
like to see them. As somebody that has to do them every year, I wish ours was
'Cause
that
the-
way.
I mean, the goal is to tell people what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, and like what,
And the
and
path
also
forward.
helps us kind of suss out like, oh, these are things that we didn't even realize were or weren't happening. So yeah, I'm just echoing Benji. I like the, I like the 4.
Okay, I'll take a stab at that then, if you're okay with that, Sherry.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, that's great.
Now, some of them have a spot where you can write what you'd like to see for them to do, you know, have new goals.
Yep.
Is that something we want to look, maybe in a manager position that fits. I had to do them for my truck drivers, and it was like, I mean, this is our job. You
Stay on the
All
road.
day
Yeah,
long.
I mean, it's kind of a silly thing, but maybe for managers, you do put that.
Yeah,
don't know,
I
sometimes
would
think they're a little
recommend
over
it.
the top, and you kind of make stuff up to fill the lines, and I don't like that either, so.
Yeah, but these are the people we interface with, and we are changing the town here and there, and so it makes sense for them to get those same updates.
Right, sure. So a couple little
Okay,
boxes.
so I'll solicit my listserv, send them to all of you, but Janice will take it. And
Yeah.
then I'll just send Janice the 3 job descriptions that you've asked for.
Yeah, and
she can take it as a package.
I guess you can specify the listserv as, you know, that these are for department heads to see. I know some towns are different, some aren't. I don't know if some do it
I
generically.
can specify the department heads too, and maybe there's
Sure.
different ones catered
Yeah.
for, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be even better.
Because we,
And then, do we want to talk about this next week?
yeah, I think so.
And if
We're
that's the
running out
case,
of
then
time.
can you send that out like
Well-
no later than Wednesday?
I'm not here till Wednesday, I'll try. I
Right.
mean, I can go send it out tonight.
Well, that's
but-
right,
yeah.
like when you're here Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I can go
Just
send,
then
I
we can get
usually
the-
spend some time here tonight anyway.
I wouldn't say no,
Alright.
but I don't
No,
want to.
it's easier while I'm here, because tomorrow I'm not, I have my granddaughter tomorrow, so. I'd rather get done.
If we have enough information, I will come in with the draft on Monday. If we don't have enough information, then I
another
can't bring
week,
one.
yeah.
Okay?
But next
Yep.
week is 10 days, because we're gonna meet Wednesday,
Oh, that's right.
because
Mhm.
of Christmas. 'Cause you got the 18th, and then you got, the 27th.
So can I jump to another question about meeting schedule? Or are we done with department heads?
I think we're
I
done
think,
with
yeah, I
department
think we're in a good
heads.
spot.
Yeah, we-
Okay. I mean reviews, I'm sorry. We're meeting on the 28th, I believe,
That Wednesday.
Wednesday.
27th.
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 When is our next meeting? When's our first meeting in January? Is it the 8th? Or are we going to meet sometime the week of New Year's before that?
The meeting for the 27th is important, because that's year end.
That's year end, yeah.
But that's up to you guys. I mean, she asked me my opinion, and I'll just wait and see what you guys say.
My opinion in the past, and will always be, let's just take a week off.
Well, that's,
We
she
need a
said
break.
to me, on her calendar it would be the 8th, and I agreed with her, because it's a short week and it's right after New Year's.
Right,
So
yeah.
we
the
were
8th.
thinking
Yeah,
January
take
8th?
Take the week of the first
week
off.
of the first few days in January.
Yeah, so January 8th.
And I'm asking because I want to firm up my personal
Yeah.
schedule, so I want to make sure I'm not going to
We
miss
figured
a meeting.
All right.
if possible.
Yep.
Sounds good,
The 8th.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Thank you for
And
interjecting
will that
that.
be a regular meeting, or, I think we should start the year with a regular meeting.
Regular,
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
No, I agree with that, yeah.
yeah,
Start a rotation with a regular meeting, yep.
okay.
Yep. And the rotation would work anyway, because the 18th is a regular meeting, 27th is somewhat a work session, but a big cleanup.
Yeah,
And then take a week off and start fresh at 24.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds good?
Look at us.
Get there.
6:33, right?
You got 3 minutes to read that manifest.
It's gonna take about that long.
No, we have business to do after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a non-meeting to discuss our Wednesday night preparation.
Yeah,
All right, well, we'll get going on this then, I guess. I move, order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payable checks dated December 14th, 2023, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest, $74,707.41 for weekly payroll. Accounts payable manifest, $571,437.54. John Stark accounts payable manifest, $250,000. Where school accounts payable manifest, $300,000. And Hillsborough County taxes for $1,316,798, for a total of $2,512,942.95.
It's a lot of commas.
Yes.
So moved.
second,
All in favor?
Yes.
yes.
Is there, do you get anything else?
I had 3 quick questions, what I think are quick questions. Any progress on legal review of the professional stamps or East Road?
So I got an email back late tonight from NHMA, I have nothing yet back from Primex, which were the two. And then East Road, she needs a little bit more information, which also came tonight about 4:40, so
Okay,
until I send those
okay.
additional
Well,
information.
it's moving at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then, I don't know how I would ask this, so I'm gonna ask it here, and then you can tell me what you want me to do with it. I would like to get some background on what the Pratt's right-to-know requests have been over the last time frame, so that I can get some history on what their issues and questions and, I guess not questions, but requests have been surrounding, so I can get myself up to speed on that. So I don't know if you need a memo from me
I believe
or...
I have copies of what I've sent them all. I've got
And they have
questions.
sent us a summary, blanking all of a sudden. I was just looking at it a week or two ago. If nothing else, I can forward you the summary that they've sent us in the past.
Okay.
But
I can marry that up with it. So do you need anything from me, Naomi, to do that, or is this enough?
I mean, I physically put the copies in a folder, and you're welcome to, once I complete it, I like to hang on to it, because to do all the research again is crazy.
Yeah,
So
no,
you're
yeah,
welcome to, either I can scan it, or whatever you want to do.
okay. Just, okay, good. Thank you. Oh,
We
one other
did
thing.
get a, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We did get an email from them, and they're looking for a building permit and something else.
and that's what you responded to today, Naomi?
I didn't see that respond because I was out.
Yeah, I gotta just grab, it's just a matter of search, and,
Yeah,
you know, I too want to pull the folder, to be honest with you, I just,
yeah, I mean, it's been going on forever,
well, the building permit's from 2020.
yeah,
Wow, it goes that far?
yeah.
Okay.
You had something else?
Yeah, the next meeting, are we gonna talk about the police hire next time?
The what?
Police hire?
I believe he's bringing him in to swear him in, and I believe the candidate is gonna come in for a quick interview.
On the 18th.
Both of those next time? Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done.
That was it? Well, accept the motion to adjourn, and after, we're gonna have a non-meeting meeting.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Have a good night, everybody.
1 second.